What's up, sports fans? It's V Sports Insider. Welcome to the channel. So Gervonta Tank Davis is labeled as 4-time 2 divisions world champion. We're gonna expose that, get on the inside of it, and prove that he is in fact a 1 division, 1-time world champion. And we're gonna reveal the whole WBA title scam in this video, so stay tuned. So Gervonta Tank Davis, a Floyd Mayweather promoted fighter, he is labeled, promoted and presented to the public as a 4-time 2-weight division world champion, which is not true, and which we're gonna talk about and reveal how and why that is not true right now. So among his listed titles are the IBF title at super featherweight, the WBA super title at super featherweight, the WBA regular title at lightweight, and his most recent, the WBA super title at super featherweight, once again a fight which he had most recently won against Leo Santa Cruz. So before we go fight by fight in his resume, belt by belt, busting those scam belts that he has and that his promotion claims that he has, we're gonna take a look at the WBA's official rules regarding the belts, which are available on the WBA's official website. So if you go to the rules section, it's section C, where they explain the rules regarding championships. It says regarding the super belts that the WBA will grant super belts to those champions that make 5 or 10 successful title defenses. So in order to be a super champion, to be rewarded a super belt, you already need to be a WBA champion in a particular weight class, and only after you fulfill certain criteria, which is 5 or 10 world title defenses, you get awarded super belt. That's what Vladimir Klitschko did at heavyweight, and that's what Takashi Uchiyama did at super featherweight, the division where Gervonta Tank Davis claims to have been a WBA champion in. And to be honest, this hasn't always been the case. For example, Vasil Lomachenko, he's been a super champion at the lightweight division, didn't make 5 or 10 title defenses, but he was the WBA champion before he was elevated to WBA super champion. So that's the difference. Gervonta Davis, he never was any kind of WBA champion before he was magically given the super belts, and in the lightweight division he was the regular champion at the division where Vasil Lomachenko was already the super champion, already the legitimate WBA champion of the world. So now we can go ahead and see if any of Gervonta Tank Davis's WBA belts meet this criteria of the WBA. If we look at his resume, obviously he had beat Jose Pedraza in 2017 to acquire his IBF Super Featherweight Championship of the world, which is legitimate and the only legitimate title that he's ever won in his career. He made a successful title defense, beating Leon Walsh, and then he was stripped of his IBF belt because he missed to make weight against Francisco Fonseca in August 2017. So we can take a look at the WBA situation at the time when Gervonta Tank Davis was stripped of his IBF championship, and how exactly was he awarded the WBA super title at super featherweight division. So the original WBA champion at the super featherweight was Takashi Uchiyama. He had become champion in January 2010, after which he went on to make 5 successful title defenses and proceeded to make 10 successful title defenses, and by 2015 he was awarded the WBA Super Championship at super featherweight division for his accomplishments. Takashi Uchiyama, he was a pound for pound fighter. He was top 5, top 6 pound for pound fighter at the time. Number 2 fighter at the division was another guy called Takashi Miura, the WBC champion, which Uchiyama had already beaten. So Uchiyama was the undisputed number 1, the undisputed kingpin of the super featherweight division at the time. So in April 2016, Uchiyama was defeated by Yasriel Corrales, a guy who then went on to become the new super champion at the super featherweight division, and he has held that title for a couple of title defenses, and then he was about to fight Alberto Machado. So that fight was scheduled as the title defense of Yasriel Corrales' super championship at the time when Gervonta Tank Davis was scheduled to fight Jesus Cuellar after he was stripped of his IBF championship for missing weight. So originally, Gervonta Davis versus Jesus Cuellar was labeled for the WBA interim championship at the super featherweight division. The WBA interim title is not a legitimate world title. It is more of a title, more of a path that leads to a world title shot, something that Rolly Romero currently has at lightweight division, for example. So Gervonta Tank Davis was due to fight Jesus Cuellar, a guy who was unrated at the super featherweight division, a guy who was not in the top 30, not in the top 50 at the super featherweight division, a guy who was interim title holder at featherweight division below, and we just explained what exactly the WBA interim title means. Even at the featherweight division, Jesus Cuellar was not a top 20 fighter. So he was defeated, and then he moved up to fight Gervonta Tank Davis for the WBA interim title at the super featherweight division. And then just before Corrales versus Machado fight for the super championship, which traces its lineage to a guy who was won his super championship according to the WBA rules. We're talking about Takashi Uchiyama. So just before that fight, Yasriel Corrales misses weight and he is stripped of his championship. So the super championship is on the line only for Alberto Machado, a standard procedure in the WBA rules and any other sanctioning body's rules when champion misses to make weight. So what happens then? Alberto Machado shocks, defeats Yasriel Corrales, and therefore he is crowned the new super featherweight super champion, or so everybody thought, because what happened then was a lot of corruption, a lot of illegal activities on behalf of Mayweather promotion, and I don't know what relations they have with WBA president Alberto Mendoza, but what happened is that the super championship, which Machado held in his hands, and you can see Machado holding the super belt on his picture, so retroactively his super title was somehow proclaimed WBA championship of the world. So word super was erased from the title. And what happened next is that Gervonta Tank Davis's fight against Cuellar for WBA interim championship, word interim was erased from the sentence and word super was added. So Gervonta Tank Davis, he ended up knocking out the overmatched opponent, and therefore he was somehow proclaimed the super champion at the super featherweight division. Completely illegal, not at all within the rules, and there was a big outcry in the boxing community at the time, so nobody really recognized Gervonta Tank Davis as a legitimate champion. His belt was actually an interim belt, a stepping stone belt that leads to a legitimate world title shot. But Floyd Mayweather, he's a very influential person in the world of boxing. He got them to erase that interim word and slide in super in the name of the championship. So Gervonta Tank Davis ended up being called the WBA super featherweight champion, or the WBA super champion at the super featherweight division, which is not true. It's false and it's illegal. So he defended that belt for a few times and then he moved up and fought Yuriorkis Gamboa for the WBA regular championship at the lightweight division. Obviously the WBA real champion at the time was Vasily Lomachenko, and obviously they just invented that paper belt for Gervonta Tank Davis. It's not a real belt at all. It's the only belt he ever had at the lightweight division. That belt is nothing more than a path that leads to a world title, to an actual world title shot, which right now would be against Teofimo Lopez since he's the real WBA champion at the moment. So the WBA title at the super featherweight division and then the WBA title at the lightweight division were not real championships. So therefore what happened in Gervonta Davis's next fight is a move back to super featherweight where he fought Leo Santa Cruz. Leo Santa Cruz was at the time 3-weight division world champion. A lot of those titles were made up titles. He was routinely fighting outside top 50 competition, non-top 50 guys, non-top 40 guys. He was basically the definition of a paper champion. So then Tank Davis moved back to super featherweight where he fought and beat Leo Santa Cruz for another alleged WBA championship, this time WBA super championship at the super featherweight division once again. So you must be asking yourself, how on earth did Leo Santa Cruz end up being a super champion at the super featherweight division? Has he beaten Alberto Machado? Well, no. Let's take a look at what actually happened. So Alberto Machado, he ended up losing his title to Andrew Cancio. So at the time Andrew Cancio was then the next legitimate WBA champion at the super featherweight division, and he in turn ended up losing to a guy from Nicaragua, Rene Alvarado. So now you must be asking yourself, so Leo Santa Cruz, he moved up and beat Rene Alvarado, right? Well, no. What happened was this. Leo Santa Cruz moved up to the super featherweight division and fought a guy called Miguel Flores, a guy who was at the time rated 141st at the super featherweight division. So you must be asking yourself, how on earth did this guy end up fighting for any kind of a championship, any kind of a regional belt, and much less super championship of the world? Well, the answer is simple. As most other belts that Leo Santa Cruz won throughout his career, fraud, corruption, and borderline criminal activity, to be honest. So Leo Santa Cruz takes a tune-up fight. He doesn't beat the actual WBA champion at the super featherweight division, Rene Alvarado. He beat a nobody, a guy that's outside top 100 as we've just seen. And he gets awarded a one-off championship belt called the WBA Super Championship. What a shocker. And then Gervonta Davis, he moves down and he beats Leo Santa Cruz, and now he claims to be the 4-time 2-weight classes world champion. So as we have seen and demonstrated here, only with the facts and nothing else but the facts and evidence, Gervonta Tank Davis won IBF championship at the super featherweight division. That was a legitimate world championship. He was a legitimate world title holder at super featherweight. The subsequent titles that he won, the WBA Super Championship and then the WBA regular championship at the division above, and then again WBA Super Championship at the super featherweight, were all fraud and not real titles. And the funny thing is that Gervonta Tank Davis, he might not be the pound for pound super talent that they're marketing him as, but he's definitely a good fighter, and he would definitely, in my opinion, defeat Rene Alvarado, the actual WBA super featherweight champion. The only thing is, he has not beaten Rene Alvarado, and therefore he has never been the real WBA champion at the super featherweight division. He has not beaten Vasily Lomachenko or Teofimo Lopez, and therefore he has never been a legitimate WBA champion at the lightweight division. So facts only, facts, not feelings, facts, not propaganda, no narratives, just plain facts. Gervonta Tank Davis has only ever been a one-time, one-weight division world champion, and that's the IBF belt that he had won at the super featherweight division a few years ago. And we're gonna wrap it up here. You watched Gervonta Tank Davis and the WBA titles fraud, Truth Unpacked by SPORTZ Insider.